Education is key and a grand agenda for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic, who has just won his second term and enjoying in full flight. Now, when he started education or went on the education campaign, he promised to deliver free senior high school. In his first term, he delivered that largely. In his second term, he's continuing to monitor the education space, and he has an interest and has put people there to run the ministry for him. He's put his former Deputy Minister for Education in charge of the sector, and he invited a pastor to help him in that ministry. My guest today is a Reverend Minister, and we'll talk about education. My name is Umaru Sandamado. You're welcome to Face to Face. The Honorable Reverend Ntim Fordjour went to the people of Asin South and told them, please give me the chance to represent you. And they did. They gave him the nod. He came to Parliament and the President spotted him, which is a rare thing because you have 137 people. You're not sure who to take at this crucial moment. But he chose Reverend Ntim Fordjour, a mineral engineer, to help him at the Ministry of Education as a Deputy Minister. Reverend, you're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you, Maru.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Yourself?
I'm okay. We know you as a reverend, but you're also a mineral engineer. Which one?
Absolutely.
You do both? Or you were doing one once and you stopped and you did another? Which one are you doing?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Well, for Reverend Minister, my occupation as a priest is something that I would not retire in. So it's a lifelong opportunity to serve God and to serve humanity. But I trained as a mineral engineer. That was my university training. And that's what I trained for, and I worked in the mines for a while before I set out into entrepreneurial pursuits, and then ultimately to serve the good people of Ghana, and specifically Asin South, the good people of Asin South entered into politics. So that's how far we've come.
When I meet people who work in the mine, I often want to ask them, have you seen gold before? How does it look like? I haven't seen one before.
Oh, you must see gold. It's a very interesting mineral. Yeah, a very precious mineral. So we'll find a way to have you see gold.
So your job in there was to do what?
I trained as a mineral engineer, like I said, at the University of Mines and Technology. And when I got the opportunity to enter the mines, the biggest surface mine in West Africa, which is Goldfields Takwa Mine, okay, I rose to become the Human Resources Superintendent. So I started out with Human Resource Development. We called it Senior Training Officer in charge of Training Administration. So okay, I was principally in charge of learning and development, and from there, with its linkages with Human Resources Management, I got transferred to the Human Resource Department to principally oversee human resource matters.
So you quit this to do politics?
After my transition from Goldfields, I started out my own business, which I had registered whilst in the university. As a matter of fact, I was around about 1920 when I registered my first business. Mm-hmm. And I thought that there were a lot of problems to be solved in my university, in the community that we lived in, the business community, and the vast workers that were waking up every morning to go work in the mines, about 4 mines in that enclave. And some opportunities I saw to be able to serve. And so I started out that first business, put it on hold after I got into Goldfields, and then after my stay with Goldfields, I took it back, expanded it, and then by the grace of God, I had a couple of opportunities and some fantastic team who supported, and then we took it to a certain good level, after which we had to also pursue public service.
Have you always wanted to do politics, or is something that you saw in a vision of a sort?
I wouldn't say I've always wanted to do politics, but when duty called, I had to respond. When the good people of Asin South, at a time when the venerable Professor Dominic Kwekufobi had served 16 years and was retiring and was not going to contest again, we needed a successor. We needed someone to take the mantle of service of that great constituency. So much had been done by Professor Fobi, and so there was a unanimous call, a massive call, and I had to respond to. And it's been a great privilege serving the good people of Asin South, supporting in various ways, serving them out of poverty, serving them out of illiteracy, serving them out of many myriads of challenges that face such a rural setting but with vast opportunities for transformation.
Professor Fordjour was Minister for Education at a point, right?
Professor Fordjour had been Minister for Education. He was also Minister for Mines and Energy at a point. He was also Minister for Youth and Sports.
Because you are now in Ministry of Education, your former, or the one who you replaced was a minister. So it means that Asin South, we like education.
So yes, Asin South. So you might say Asin South is education.
I
but
see.
Maybe it's a coincidence.
I see. That's interesting.
But Professor Fordjour is a renowned educationist, an academic, and many people that had their education training in UCC between the 70s and early 2000s, you definitely would recognize Professor Fordjour as a solid authority in education.
Are you enjoying Parliament?
Absolutely.
Enjoying.
Absolutely.
Are you helping your people?
We're doing our very best. That is the essence of responding to this public call, to serve them. There are many people who want to serve Asin South and many other constituencies. So if you get the opportunity and you are privileged to be a member of Parliament of a constituency, a beautiful one at that as Asin South, it's exciting to help. So far, for the past 5 years, we've done so much to be able to augment on the good work Professor Fordjour had already started out in infrastructure, in education, roads, in healthcare delivery, and many other telecommunication access. And this far, we're doing.
Luckily for you, you came into Parliament with your government, as in you were not an orphan. So it should be pretty easy for you. What are some of the things that you did because your government was in power? Because you can't go and tell the people, oh, Mabane is not on it. So, but this one, you had everything.
When you happened to be coming to Parliament at the time, a very visionary president is also taking his seat in leadership, who is so poised and in a hurry to transform the country, to take us out of the many challenges we had at the time, then you should count yourself blessed as a member of Parliament. So I was most fortunate to have become a member of Parliament at the time that President Akufo-Addo started out, when he had a solid plan for transforming education. I had to benefit. When he had a solid plan to transform our road challenges, but our road networks, and improve on them in rural areas, I had to benefit. When the president had a very visionary drive to be able to extend access of electricity to various villages, expand access to telecommunication amenities to various communities, I had to take advantage of that leadership. So which of the
advantages did you take, and how did they reflect physically in your constituency?
And so in these categories, to start with, let's begin with telecommunication access, for example. In our 21st century, could you imagine that there was a constituency which had 50 communities out of the 246 communities living without access to telecommunication access, including my own village.
What did that mean?
What that means is that if you visited my village in 2016, you could not make a phone call with your cell phone. Well, I don't know about that, okay. But you needed to position yourself somewhere. Okay. Well, there are many other stories, very interesting stories as to what people had to go through elsewhere to be able to make a phone call. But in Asin South, you needed to go through a lot of struggle.
So you connected these communities?
And a number of these communities, 35 of them, have been since connected.
Out of 50?
Through the president's initiative of expanding access of telecommunication to those villages. Through the efforts of GIFEC, under the leadership of the Ministry of Communication, we've had a number of our schools in those rural communities not only receiving access to telecommunication, but having established ICT labs. And just before I took over, we had serious challenges with ICT education. There were no ICT labs, there were no computers, there were no telecommunication in many parts of the constituency. There were some that had. So my attention was principally on the communities and the schools that were without such services. So
you provided them.
And so far.
How about health? Did you put up any CHIPS compound or hospital over the past?
We have. The past 5 years, we have. Edubiase, for instance, is one community that has benefited from healthcare delivery infrastructure. We've also had Nyamibebu, we've had Inkubem, we've had many.
So what, they have a CHIPS compound or hospital?
Yes, they have CHIPS compound. Our district hospital is, we've just begun the process as part of Agenda 111. We are benefiting from the agenda.
So you didn't have a district hospital?
We've never had.
You're getting
hospital.
one.
We're getting one.
Are you together with Asin Central and North in the same municipal district, or you are separate? You're on your own?
We're in the same enclave, but we have a separate district.
Okay.
And then we have Ntim Fordjour municipality where the
Central and North are in.
Just some few years ago, we had Ntim North district being carved out of
so
Ntim
Central is on its own.
So
North
Central is on its own, North is on its own, and then South is on its own.
How old is yours? How old is your district?
My district was founded in 2004.
Okay. And you've never had a district hospital?
We've never had.
So this is the first time you're going to get one?
This is the first time.
Have you found the land where they'll site
it? We have.
Which village?
Yes.
Who gave you the land? The chiefs?
The chiefs and people. We have two traditional areas, two traditional paramountcies, and certainly has to be in one. So a lot of consultations and discussions had to go on for the two chiefs and the two peoples to be able to, on consensus, agree that for this facility, this is where we are going to keep it.
The day the president, cut short or announced that the project has started, he said all other contractors nationwide should start work. Have your contractors started work?
Yes, there's grants preparation. As we speak, the grants has been cleared and the contractors have visited sites and they've put in place plans. And we're very hopeful that soon work will commence.
So if I went there tomorrow, I'll see that the place has been cleared.
The place is cleared. Even today, the place is cleared.
They brought stones and chippings and sand?
The place is cleared. They've gone to see the site preparation and they've made a determination as to the next steps in their project plan.
I see.
So we are very hopeful that very soon, just as we all want this project to kickstart, the contractors involved will do a very diligent job and will fast track it within the period that is stipulated in their contract.
Okay. What about education? Did Mahama leave you an E-block?
No.
Okay. Did you build a new one in your district since you came to government?
We have improved on our education infrastructure so massively.
But you didn't build a single school?
We already have 4 secondary schools.
Secondary schools? And
we already have a number of basic schools.
And these are enough for your pupils or your children?
And we are still expanding access to various hard-to-reach areas.
I just want to be sure, these 4 secondary schools and the basic schools you have, are they enough to educate the people in Asin South?
We even have, interestingly, we have a lot more people coming even from outside the constituency to access secondary education.
My question is the facility you have enough for just two people?
No, you can never have. In the country where we run an infrastructure deficit, you can never have. Even not,
so
not
why
even
didn't you build one then?
We've built a number of schools.
In your area?
Yes, and we have a number of them
Basic
that
schools?
are at various stages. We have built KGs, we have built, I do not have the figures offhand,
no problem,
but we've done a massive job at the KG level, expanding access to early childhood education. And then we've also, and in particular, the nature of my constituency is such that you have various clusters of communities, and people will have to oftentimes walk a certain distance to access a school facility. So for those communities, it's imperative that for the young ones, 4 to 6 years, they cannot walk such a distance. So even in those small communities, steps were taken to get them kindergartens, and then when they get to a point where they are able to walk a certain distance to access primary facility, we do so, taking also cognizance of our education plan and enrollment as well. So you would have some parts of the constituency, like the Nyankumasia, Hinkro, Jakain, Amoabein, Daman, Edubiase, Onwa, highly populated in your brain, for instance. And so for those ones, if you built a big school, you would have enrollment in there. But you're also mindful that there are other communities in the hinterlands who may not have the enrollment, but for accessibility, you need to build structure. So we took all this into consideration, and we've done very significantly, but we still have some more things to do.
This is Face to Face on City TV. My name is Umaru Sandawan. My guest is Deputy Minister for Education and MP for Asin South, Honorable Reverend John Ntim Fordjour. I'm excited speaking to you because I've heard that pastors don't lie, and you're a politician, and people say politicians lie. How do you situate this issue, that politicians are liars and you are a reverend father or you're a pastor? You are not supposed to tell lies. Can you explain to me how you manage these two?
Umaru, must you tell a lie to be a politician?
That's what I hear people say.
Must you tell a lie to be a great Journalists, must you tell a lie to be a great doctor? Must you tell a lie to be a great judge or a great nurse, a great teacher?
People say politicians are liars. And they even say politicians and that they are tricksters. And yet you are a reverend pastor. Are you a reverend father or a pastor? Which one is it? Let me get the title.
I'm a reverend minister.
Reverend minister.
But principal, I'm a pastor.
Okay.
I mean, essentially, I'm a pastor.
How do you negotiate that line? Because for people who believe politicians are liars and pastors are holy, it's like black and white. You are in the middle. How do you manage this?
Politics had never been the way some people have portrayed it to be. I think the perception of negativity that is largely out there in the minds of many people must have been occasioned by certain antecedents, certain utterances, and certain actions that probably some politicians may have in the past, treaded, or some trajectory that they had gone on, or some even still going on. And I always admonish that for us as political actors and for people that are in leadership and aspiring to be in leadership or operating in a political space in pursuit of our democratic credentials, we have a huge responsibility to be able to gradually, it will take a while, but to gradually change those perceptions. We can change it when we are very, very truthful, when we are very honest, when we speak to the facts. When you're not sure, you must concede to know you're not sure. You will check it. There's no point in sitting here to say we have built 300 schools in Asensa, for instance, when the number is certainly not up to 100. And so if you're not sure, you can take a minute and check, and the next day you can provide that accurate information. Who are you to impress? We must not be in a hurry to impress people.
You're impressing the thumbs of people who vote for you.
But the thumbs that have to vote for you know the facts that you're speaking to. Majority of them know the fact that you're speaking to.
So is it I don't believe that politicians lie, or you think that lying is not good?
I'm saying that perception has been entrenched due to some actions of some politicians.
So it's just a perception. You don't think it's real. You think it's perceived. It's not real.
There may be some aspects. And I have had occasions, even on other radio stations, to debate some of my colleagues. And I had advised that we don't have to go on the trajectory of being adversarial like the perception in politics is. For you to be a great political communicator, you need to be aggressive, you need to be adversarial, you need to so that your followings will know that you're such a great communicator. I beg to differ.
So you don't tell lies?
I do not tell lies.
You've never told a lie? In politics, not on outside politics.
Well, whichever way you want to take, whichever way you want to look at it. I mean, we are all not perfect. None is perfect, and that point must be.
So you've not told a lie to campaign to your electorate.
There is no need to lie.
You've not told a lie to.
There's no need to
the public when it comes to any issue that has to do with your office. Lie.
Credibility is everything, because if you told a lie today, Maru, the next minute somebody at the touch of a button can gather figures, and then you're exposed. If you told a lie, however complex the truth process might take, within a day, within a week, the fact checks will be done, and then you'll be exposed. So,
are you able to be holy and political? As in, no corruption, no lies, nothing. Meanwhile, those are the things that are associated with politics. You are a reverend minister. Do you have a difficulty being a politician?
Who said that you need to compromise to be an effective politician? You don't need to compromise to be an effective politician. Politician is a service. Our political process is such that our governance system is a democratic one. And for you to be able to pursue that, there are certain processes you have to go through. You need to run for office. You need to contest for elections. And so those are processes that are associated with our democratic pursuit, which we have sustained those gains and consolidated thus far. So the processes associated with getting the opportunity to serve your people, whether at the district level, whether at the constituency level, or the national level, must not be characterized by willful intent to lie, because we have a very complex populace, we have a very knowledgeable electorates who know the facts. And the complexity and sophistications is increasing by the day. And so if your path or your orientation as a politician is to be able to be cunning and lie your way out, very shortly, you're going to run out of integrity.
Do you find the
you're going to run out of credibility. And
do you find it difficult to survive in the political space because of your personal principles and doctrine?
I have not had such challenge.
The devil hasn't come to you through politics yet.
The challenges that we all encounter devils every day in our various endeavors.
But the
devil
in politics is bigger.
So the same devil that visits you in your studio probably
the same one that
may be the everyday devils that may visit us everywhere.
Do you not get someone bring you a deal and say, sign on this, you're going to get so much because you're a minister?
Nobody has brought that.
Really?
Maybe perhaps they know that this guy is a reverend minister, so maybe. But I haven't had such temptation.
When you sit in parliament, there are allegations that before you... Are you a member of the appointments committee?
Yes, I am.
You are great.
Yes.
That you people collect money from nominees before you pass.
No, that's
it never happened to you
before.
Before.
That's not true.
Never happened to you
That's
before.
not true. That's not.
No one gave you money
incorrect.
To pass any deal at all.
Those are false.
Wow.
Those are false.
Are you sure?
So there's a lot of rumors out there, and there are a lot of fabrications out there that are probably false, palpably false. And so, but it fits into the larger perception of corruption, the larger perception of acrimony, larger perception of incredibility.
But you're speaking on behalf of everybody. You should speak for yourself. You're saying that nobody is corrupt. Nobody.
You asked me, and I'm telling you what I've experienced and what I've seen.
And you don't see evidence of.
And I don't have any evidence of the fact that myself or my colleagues had any underhand activity to be able to pass any candidates. There's no such thing.
You're a reverend minister. When you are holding any office or you're doing any job and you become an MP, you have to relinquish unless you write to the speaker and then he gives you the permission to continue to do business. Lawyers do that and all of that. As a reverend minister, did you have to write to the speaker that, please, I want to continue to be a pastor, or this is not part of that?
As a reverend minister, I'm not a paid reverend minister. I've always done lay pastoring. I've always pastored on lay. I've never taken allowance or salary. I'm not on church allowance, on church salary. I am not. I'm not on the payroll of the church.
You're not in profit making.
Never have I.
Okay.
Before politics, and even in politics, I've just been serving my church and the good people of my church and the body of Christ.
You pastor a church?
Yes, I do.
Which
and
church?
I've never Victory Bible Church, East Legon branch.
So if I came down Sunday, I would see you as a...
You'll see me. Benavle ministered just last week.
In your church?
In our church. He's a regular. Every year we have him to minister.
You do weekday church?
We do weekday service as
well. So when you are here trying to fix our free SHS and they say come to church, which one do you prioritize?
But the church activities are planned and scheduled in a way that are not in conflict with my duties as a minister of state. And as a matter of fact, you would realize that our service times are even scheduled maximum 2 hours. And so we'll meet twice on Sunday and Thursdays. I threw a very pleasant invitation to you. You must visit. But to the point earlier on that I was making, I had been serving my church and the body of Christ at large, and had never at any point, I've been lay pastors, people who are called into the ministry, but are not doing it are not doing it for remuneration. Okay. So you have your own business. You're running,
and then you're doing
and then you're serving as well.
But your ministry is a busy one.
Yes, but I'll answer that. Mm-hmm. You raised a very important query, which I think many have taken for granted. I served as the vice chair to the current Speaker of Parliament in the 7th Parliament. The Right Honourable Agban Sumana Kingsford Bagbane was the chairman of a committee, a very important committee in Parliament we call Committee on Members Holding Offices of Profit.
Okay. And
I was his vice chair. And the duty or mandate of that committee is to ensure that the specific provisions in the Constitution are adhered to, which dictates that as a Minister of State, and you don't have to hold any profit, any office of profit.
Yes. I think I mentioned that. That's why I said that.
A member of Parliament. Okay. So our committee was mandated
so you can't be breaching that committee.
So I had gone through, and I've gone through all the necessary
This is Face to Face on City TV. My name is Omaru Sandamadu. My guest is Reverend Ntim Fordjour. He's Minister for Education, Deputy Minister, that is. When we come back, we'll delve more into issues having to do with his ministry and how his ministry is handling that. The issue of one laptop per teacher, the issue of senior high school, the free senior high school, how they're managing that, and the traffic lights at the senior high schools. Don't worry.
This is Fact Finder from the BBC.
We live in a world where news travels fast, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate fact from fiction. Fact Finder brings fact-checking from the newsroom up close so you can separate truth from chaff. Be empowered to tell what's fake from what's real. Watch Fact Finder by the BBC on City TV every Wednesday at 6 p.m. City TV. It's your world.
You're welcome back to Face on City TV. My name is Omaru Sandamadu. My guest is the Deputy Minister for Education and Asin South Member of Parliament, Honorable Reverend John Ntim Fordjour. Senior high school, free senior high school was a huge thing. Nana Akufo-Addo made that promise. He's been delivering it. What's the state of affairs so far, based on your own estimation?
Free SHS policy is under implementation and is going creditably. The implementation process of free SHS is going as planned, is going as expected, yielding results, and we are monitoring the implementation every step of the way. I always start out the story with my personal experience. Omaru, believe it or not, I come from one of the most beautiful remote villages in the country called Asinkruwa. I was born in that village. I grew up in that village. And at the time that I finished my basic education, there was not even access to telecommunication. There was not even electricity. I wasn't the only brilliant person from that village, though I topped my class. But there were some of my friends, cousins, and colleagues who were also brilliant. But I was the only person who could transition to secondary school. Why? Because cost was a huge barrier. My parents are cocoa farmers. And as farmers, we go to the farm and try to make ends meet on subsistence level. And that is pretty much how the whole community existed. And so going to SHS was a real struggle for most households. Be that as it may, in that district, I probably wasn't the only person who was able to make it to Asemansu Secondary School for my SHS as a 14-year-old boy. But the challenges of my parents having to pay my fees was real, just as it was for a lot of my other mates that I started out with. There were many times we had to be denied access to dining hall because we owed fees. And to turn to your chop box when your fees are not even, you are not able to pay your fees, it's an empty chop box to start with. So it was a real challenge. Some of us, by the grace of God, managed through, so we were able to complete. But there were many brilliant young girls and young boys who couldn't meet up with the challenge and dropped out. For this reason, data has it that prior to 2017, 400,000 children or pupils averagely were left out of transitioning to second cycle education, ostensibly because of cost as a barrier. They couldn't afford it. Not that they didn't have quality passes, not that they were not brilliant enough to transition, but simply because there was nobody to pay their fees. So a consensus was reached as a nation that the option we want in fulfilling our constitutional mandate, which dictates that particularly at the pre-tertiary level, from kindergarten up to SHS 3, every child of school-going age, irrespective of their background, whether from a privileged background or whether from a challenged background, must have access to education. And somebody has to make a policy. Somebody, even in the midst of the challenging times, had to make a bold, visionary decision to grant access to 400,000 people to join the nominal 800,000 enrollment that we had. And that brought about free SHS. President Akufo-Addo will always be remembered, whether you are NDC, MPP, PNC, CPP, or apolitical. This single monumental move has gained recognition worldwide. There are many African countries that come in here to engage us, to learn from our success stories, and to be able to replicate same wherever they are. Now, the bigger picture is this. Today, we might not see the impact of free SHS, but in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years, when our human capital index has improved from the current 0.44 to, let's say, the 0.88 as South Korea, Japan, and Singapore and such countries, Malaysia and some other countries, Vietnam, other countries of similar characteristics and stature some 30 years back, we would now come to appreciate that bold step. However, starting it will require that you start from somewhere. Now, if you have infrastructure that is made or designed to accommodate 800,000 enrollment, and because a decision has been taken unanimously and through the thumbs of the good people of Ghana across the length and breadth of the country, we opted for that credible option and that visionary option. 400,000 people will have to come in, adding up to the 800,000 for an enrollment of 1.2 million. That's like the size of, more than the size of Malta as a country. That's almost more than the size of Gambia as a country. It's a huge one. That will call for some pragmatic steps. And so a number of innovations and decisions.
So I want you to speak to me as though you were speaking in church on a Sunday and tell me honestly what the challenges of free SHS are from where you sit.
Every day is a Sunday for me.
Okay.
Every day is a day which I have to serve my God, my people. When I get the opportunity to serve humanity, it is God that I'm serving. And so I see every day as sacred.
So what are the problems of free SHS?
Every policy has its challenges. There is not a single policy that is implemented in any part of the world that has come without challenges. As a matter of fact, the most successful policy that has ever been implemented will be the policy that had challenges. And in itself, and in anticipating that there will be challenges, that is why the policy cycle itself has various formative reviews, has monitoring and evaluation, so that the parameters and intended objectives that you set out at the rollout of the policy will be kept in check. With my policy background as economic policy management background, I see free SHS as doing very healthily, as creditably being run. And I would point out one challenge. One challenge had been with infrastructure. And it was for this reason why, and it stands to reason that if you're accommodating 1.2 million students in a capacity designed for 800,000 people, you will have challenges. Addressing that, I must kindly addressing that. I must outline the steps taken to overcome, surmount that challenge. It's not a challenge that was just left and we're up in arms and we really didn't figure out what to do.
I think we have a clue. So you introduced a double track to deal with that matter, giving yourself some
time. We are massively expanding infrastructure.
Between
2017 and 2020, a total of 2,007 different infrastructure projects were commenced. About 58% of them, as of December 2020, had been completed and handed over.
Blocks
and there are classroom blocks, dormitories,
dining halls,
assembly halls.
No problem. Aside infrastructure, what other problem have you identified with free SHS?
Apart from infrastructure, the other challenge had to do with communication, and I would want to put that in perspective. And these steps have been taken in our continuous engagement with CHAS and with heads of schools and with relevant stakeholders. Some of the challenges that we noticed was that, in particular, with the payment of utility bills, electricity bills, for instance, many heads of schools, by the current arrangement, would have to pre-finance it because it's prepaid. And so you had to pre-finance it.
So this was water and electricity?
Electricity.
Not water?
Yes, electricity. They had to find money to pre-finance it before later on coming for reimbursement. And when the matter came to attention of my minister, Dr. Yao, quickly he thought that ought to be corrected. And so he gave instruction nationwide for GES to liaise with ECG to ensure that all schools that are without postpaid meters are reconfigured. And so the bills will have to be ferried for us to be able to pay promptly, for which that burden of pre-financing will have to be left off the shoulders of our heads of schools. But to paint the picture, free SHS, as monumental as it is, if you break it down, children are being fed. If a day student is even given one hot meal,
I'll come back to food. Let me just deal with this matter. So you mentioned infrastructure. You've noted the issue of the prepaid, which you are getting done, converted to postpaid. Have you had an issue of money in senior high schools? Financial challenge. Say there's a uniform that is supposed to be supplied, but because of money we can't supply it.
No.
Let the students start for now. Issue of we have to provide furniture. We don't have money yet, so let the students sit three on a dual desk. You don't have that challenge. An issue of paying table members continually because they don't have vacation anymore.
No, let me
don't have that
let
challenge.
me take it one after the other. And even to put it in perspective, I mentioned infrastructure challenge because in the context that when you're putting 1.2 enrollment in a facility designed for grossly 800,000, and that's why we did double track. That's why we expanded access. We are still expanding access at the secondary level. And it is expected that the initial target of 5 to 7 years on the implementation of free SHS, we're going to do away with double track. It's on course, and we are monitoring it. It's on course. So that is not something to say. The issue of congestion, when you and I, when in secondary schools many years ago, there were congestions. Tamasco had challenges with infrastructure when you were a student. So there are certain challenges that you would identify today that are not novel, that were not occasioned by free SHS. They had been there.
But if two people are sleeping on the bed, on the ground, now 10 people will be sleeping.
Distinctions must be drawn. And to say that the implementation of free SHS has even lessened and ameliorated those challenges that existed even before
the critics who say
the
that free SHS is not really free because you've said it's free, but a child does not just get up and go to school. There are a lot of things that they have to do.
Like what?
They have to, perhaps.
Do they have to pay their tuition fees?
No, they don't.
Do they have to pay for their core textbooks?
No.
Do they have to pay for their elective textbooks?
No.
Do they have to pay for their house dresses, house jerseys, ceremonial
but
dresses?
They pay for
Do they have to pay for extra classes?
The ongoing WASI, we've received complaints from home economics students and visual arts students that they've had to supply and buy their own material for the conduct of the practical.
That is not the case because
that's what they told us.
That is not the case because the government pays every school commensurate to their numbers and those that are registering.
Did that payment delay because the students have had
payment promptly was delivered.
So how come they have to pay before?
So for those isolated reports you're getting, I will have to investigate. And you can trust me. I'll go to the bottom and bring you results, so just as I've demonstrated to you on other matters you brought to my attention.
So because the food in the dining hall is not adequate or enough, someone has to buy gari and sardine and take it with them to school. Is that also
I have sampled out various schools, in category C schools, category B schools, and category A schools. I have visited them unawares, just as my boss, the Honorable Minister for
How many
Education,
schools did you visit?
Dr. Yao Ose Edichum, has visited.
How many?
And that was even before your reportage, which we may discuss. And so randomly, there were times that I took to Western region and then Central region, for instance. My boss also went to Ashanti, Western North. GS Director General went to all the northern sector. We had my colleague, Deputy Minister, also going to many aspects, Eastern region and other regions, Greater Accra. We shared it among the deputy directors and
so directors. Do assessments.
We have gone to the field and we do this periodically. And in most of our visits, they are unannounced. And we go there. And recently I was at Tema. And I'm mentioning Tema SHS because it is a school that is very dear to your heart, to your alma mater. And I was surprised what they were being served. I asked them, is that how you were served every day? And they said, yes, that's how we're served every day. So those reports that are coming, we need to be circumspect. I won't sit here to say that every school, every day, all year round, has food in abundance. Like I went to meet on my rounds, because That had never been the situation, even before free SHS. So that distinction must be.
So since the day the parents complained to us that you went around, you've not found any school anywhere. The Director General of GES said he was sending a team. You went around, your boss went around. You haven't found a single school that has a food challenge.
And to be specific, we have 722 schools, Omaro. And out of these 272 schools, that is catering to 1.2 million students, there were specific reports that there were almost a dozen schools had no food, no grain of corn, no grain of rice, no drop of oil, nothing. They are starving. That was a worrying reportage. That was a really worrying one. So none of us could sit in the office. And our posture, that of my minister, Dr. Yao Seduchum, myself and the team at the ministry, is not to be fighting for, to be fighting reports when we get them. It's not but to take steps, to go to the grounds, to ascertain that when such worrying reports are received, we see the veracity of same and take steps to address. So it is not a matter of we want to have a certain narrative. No, as it is in every school, if there's a challenge, when we identify, immediately response must go. There's a school that called and said, "Oh, we have stock, but we project that with the resumption of a certain particular stream that I've joined, a certain particular track that had joined, in the next 2 weeks, if we don't receive so and so stock, we would run out." So ahead of time, they have drawn attention, and we have to ensure that such schools receive prompt food within this period to ensure they don't get to a time where they finally run out. So the propaganda out there, which some may take interest in propagating, when those reports come out, I would plead that we exercise restraint and absolute circumspection in the way we put it out, because it may just turn out that it's not true. So but if I'll be glad to visit a school and they don't have any bag of rice, no sugar, no oil, no Tom Brown, for instance, or milk, and then immediately take steps to have them supplied, because these are my children. These are my nephews and nieces, and no one wants their kids hungry.
So you have said that some schools, or one school at least, called you and complained about ABCD and you got it sorted out. Some other schools decided to use the media platform. So parents called in, teachers called. Let me land with the question.
They had run out.
Yeah, they said they ran out in 2 weeks.
They have. But in 2 weeks,
yes, I get it.
But the reports that came were
let me just land with my question. So you said that these people called. Now, these other people chose to the media platform to vent and to explain that ABCD is what is wrong with us. You, the ministry, were obviously unhappy, and you decided, let me go in and check what is wrong. You're unhappy with the state of affairs as announced. Were you not?
It's not a matter of unhappiness. It's a matter of being alarmed at
unhappy and
the
alarmed,
reports that came that there's no, because we monitor every day.
So you moved
and by our
into
monitoring system, there was no school. Yes. There is no school that had run out.
So you moved
there's
into
no food
that
crisis.
Yes.
Let me put it bluntly. There's no food crisis in any of the 722.
We didn't set out to say there's a food crisis. Parents have called, teachers have called and said there's a food crisis. You decided to go to prove to them that it is not.
No, I didn't decide to go to prove. We decided
you went to take a selfie with the food to say that.
No, it wasn't a selfie. It was a photograph that was taken by someone.
Standing by food. No problem.
But I needed to prove to you.
So my point is that
I needed to prove to you that yes, Omaro, I take your reports and your feedback very seriously, and my minister takes it so seriously. So when we heard on your platform that parents and some parents and some students, because the identity is not even ascertained, but there were complaints of food crisis.
You don't trust that those are parents and teachers who called in, do you?
I don't have any reason to doubt anybody's identity. But what I'm saying that essentially, when those reports came that there was food crisis in schools, and certain particular names came up, that if you went there today, there is no food. We needed to go and to make sure that they had food. And we were not going with intent.
You didn't go with a witness.
We didn't
Why?
go.
Why didn't you go with any witnesses?
Please, respectfully, we're not going with intent to prove any point. We're going to solve the problem. My boss, even in the night, in the evening, couldn't go home without visiting PRESEC to be sure that indeed they didn't have food as has been put out. In the morning, it was raining in the morning, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., O'Reilly SHS. That was the first place I visited. So when people think that we only went to, category A schools, that is not true.
Okay.
We went to every school, Okapiman and all those schools. Those that myself and my boss were not able to personally visit. We sent our team, and they went there. And when we went, we were shocked. We were going there to actually even prompt supply.
Of course, you are ministers.
We want
only
powerful. To see
you have
that.
a V8, you have a bodyguard.
So
why didn't you go with a witness? That's what I'm asking you. The witness of the people.
So which witness were you?
The cameraman.
Which cameraman? I had a camera.
Yeah, that's you.
So
you are going to be
what is the difference between
course?
City TV and Omaru
Yes.
and on your platform, respectfully? I think this is the second time it had come up. When it first came out, I had to restrain myself.
Yes, feel free. Don't restrain
because you're
yourself.
my very good friend.
No,
I was still restrained.
Yes.
But to any attempt to doubt the authenticity of an inspection done, which was occasioned by an alarming report, to put it mildly, by a credible radio station, which is still very credible. CT is one of the most credible around here. And that's why we were concerned. We went there, and then we took pictures. Oh, we couldn't have conveyed food in the night to the place for optics. No,
Are you sure?
we couldn't have done so.
How long have you been in politics
for any attempt to want to undermine the authenticity of the genuine inspection we did in response to your call, and to even show proof of same will be highly unfortunate. I don't want you to go there.
So to have
it's
not gotten there,
in
order not to even get there.
Because a whole minister goes to a school to inspect on your prompt, and to see that the report, which students and parents, some parents and students put out, is not Achimota had food, O'Reilly had food, Tema Secondary School had food, Okapiman had food.
According to you.
And no, are you still doubting the authenticity?
Oh, I'm a journalist. If I don't doubt, I'll never find the other side.
If you accept the credibility of a text message,
no, I don't
sent
accept
to you
that either.
on an anonymous platform,
I don't trust
or
either
a call,
side.
which you are not even able to identify the identity,
Reverend,
ascertain the
you see,
identity of the person.
I don't trust that person.
And then a whole minister goes there and sends you a picture. I take serious exception
it's
to
okay,
that.
you can take exception,
take
but
serious
I just
exception
need you
that.
to know
but
that I don't trust that person any more than I trust
out
you.
of circumspection,
Yes.
what I was expecting, City TV, City FM would have quickly done a retraction. We put out on our media station that the food crisis were in so and so schools. The ministries have taken, they've gone there promptly to inspect, and the reports we are receiving from the ministries that there is food. We have no reason to doubt. Subsequently, after that, did you receive the so-called parents and students calling you to complain that those schools did not have?
We did.
Was there any evidence contrary to what I had sent you? So let us maintain, in respect of in the spirit of mutual respect that we don't doubt your credibility.
We also don't doubt you. We just wanted to be there with you while you were on that.
But we accept your feedback seriously on this and any other matter relating to any policy we are implementing as a ministry and as a government. We take feedback from City FM and City TV very seriously.
Very well.
And we'll continue to promptly respond to such.
This is Face-to-Face on City TV. My guest is the Deputy Minister for Education. When we come back, we wrap up on the issue of the laptops that they're providing to teachers. Where's the idea coming from? We're told it's from the teacher unions themselves. Why is the government involved? Don't worry.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and Star Times box. City TV, it's your world.
You're welcome back to Face on City TV. I'm concluding this conversation with the Deputy Minister for Education and Assin South Member of Parliament. I spoke to you, the PRO of the Ministry of Education, to give me specifications on radio about this contract to supply, teachers with laptops. He said he didn't have it handy to share with me. Do you perchance know anything about this contract as a minister to share with us, something that was launched by the Vice President?
Yeah, in respect of the one teacher, one laptop policy,
yes,
this is a fantastic policy. We are in a digitized age where in every facet of our endeavor, computer is taking over. I mean, digitization is taking over commerce, is taking over education, is taking over agriculture, banking, accounting, even communication, media. Everything is digitized. So in an era where we want to realign the objectives and we want to align our education strategy in response to the demands of 21st century dictates, and in our cognizant of our fourth industrial revolution era, you couldn't have an education system without digitization. And that is why when you visit any college of education today, we have reformed the curriculum such that ICT is a compulsory subject, it's a compulsory course to be taught.
For all basic schools?
For all colleges of education. For you even to be trained to become a qualified teacher, you need to have those essential literacy. You need to have those essential computer literacy. Now, as a group of people who most meaningfully contribute to socioeconomic development, I'm referring to members of our noble profession.
The teachers.
The teachers. Even cognizant of what COVID-19 occasioned and bringing out the essence of digitization more than ever before. It was proposed by the teachers through the leadership of their teacher unions and principally NAGRATs, NATs, and concerned teachers. So these encompass the vast majority of teachers, around about 98%, if I'm correct, but the vast majority of our teachers fall within these categories. So by interactions with them, this was a need that was proposed. And as a listening government, you want to be responsive to the needs of your people. That is what you are saying. Teachers are major stakeholders in our education transformation strategy. And they said, no, we are in digital age.
So
every sphere is digitizing. Teachers need to reform the way we teach, our pedagogy, our modes, the way we do our lesson notes, the way we deliver our lessons, even how we pursue our continuous professional development need to be enhanced with the use of ICT. Therefore, we would need laptops
for the teachers.
And these laptops is for the teacher to deploy to enhance their delivery.
Would it be compulsory? Would it compulsory for every teacher to have the laptop?
The teachers proposed that they wanted, so
it's compulsory or voluntary?
Package it as such, and then there was cost sharing component which they proposed, and government readily accepted.
70-30.
70-30. And let me
how much is government's contribution to a teacher's laptop?
Let me tell you that. It is the unit cost is 1,550.
1,550 per laptop.
Government taking 70%, and the teacher taking 30%. The 30% that is the teacher's contribution, to put it in perspective, is not going to be deducted from their salary.
Okay.
You recall that 1,200 cedis continuous professional allowance, continuous professional development allowance that was introduced by President Akufo-Addo. For teachers, a novel introduction. It was an incentive to be able to get our teachers motivated to even commit to continuous professional development. So we said we are voting 1,200 cedis for you every year to support your endeavors.
So you deduct that to pay the laptop.
Out of that, just a portion, which is even less than half, because if you to calculate, if you do the math, 30% of that figure, less than half of 1,002 will be deducted once off, and that forms
will be used
part.
to pay for the
So
laptop.
Essentially, it is government paying 100%.
So 1,550 cedis.
So the understanding
what are the
is that
features of this laptop?
Essentially, it is the government paying the entire money, because the teacher is not picking out extra money for the other 30%.
I get it.
We need to TM1 brand computer with internal memory of 500 gigabytes. It's a Celeron processor 4020, and the RAM is 4 gig. The graphics is is UHD 600. So and many other features that for
is it HP
time.
Compact?
It is TM1.
That's the name.
TM1. That is a brand.
Is it something we produce locally or continentally or abroad?
There's locally sourced.
Okay.
Locally sourced.
So it's a Ghanaian company.
So the company
where are the
is
laptops being produced?
So for that, I'll give you the details later.
Okay.
Not that I do not know. I'll give you the details later.
You don't
because
have
of
it
time. No. So these laptops are durable.
Okay.
They are not the kind of laptops. I mean, when you're procuring these devices that are going to be deployed even in hardest to reach areas and going to be used by teachers who have to hold it and carry it to classroom and come back home every day, you need a durable product.
Be strong.
So this is durable and it's going to be very useful. On it, we have installed all the textbooks.
No problem.
We have education material. We have sample lesson notes. We have also installed on it many very useful
there are currently
ebooks that are going to help.
Please let us end.
And it's going to be accessed online and offline.
There are 15 communities in your constituency that don't have electricity. How are they going to use this laptop?
There are other ways of...
How? You can't use touch battery.
No, but would you say that you need to have 100% electricity coverage in Ghana?
No. I'm just asking you. For the 15 communities in your constituency that don't have electricity, how can the teachers use this laptop?
They have electrical gadgets, and there's a way
to power them.
What we must appreciate is that as you're looking at it this way, someone's also looking at it this way. There are 722 SHS who have electricity, and not only that, have Wi-Fi fitted in them, who are going to be able to use this device and access all manner of learning and resources. And there are many basic schools that also have access not only to electricity, but have internet and Wi-Fi connectivities that are still, as a nation, is a challenge. It's not every community that has. But even where there's a challenge, the teachers must not be denied the opportunity of ICT learning. But I must...
Thank you, Reverend.
We need to be able to also remind ourselves as a nation where we want to go in the fourth industrial revolution era, until we're able to transform education in line with the 21st century skills that is required.
We'll keep lagging behind.
We'll keep training people for jobs that have been obsolete for 20 years ago, 10 years ago. That point you must be interested in.
I appreciate.
You must not only be interested in the few complaints that are coming, but the brilliant things that Dr. Yaoseduchum, the education transformation agenda that is pursuing in line with President Kufuor's agenda. What we want to see is that 10% of our population in every community, data has it, research has it, that 10% of every population are people that possess extra giftings and talents.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasant conversation.
I appreciate it.
And I do look forward to a part 2.
Thank you so much. That's Reverend John Ntim Fordjour. The John in John Mahama is the name. My name is Umaru Sanda. This has been Face to Face. Please keep watching City TV. It's your world.